Hi, and welcome to another Flutter tutorial. And for today, we're going to continue with the BookBytes application. And for today, we're going to look into the following screen, which is to insert a book or new book into database. So in the previous video, I've talked about the form here, which divided into two sections. So the first section, I'll talk about the top part here, where users are allowed to take picture from gallery or from camera. And the bottom section at the bottom down here, this is basically form. Um, the top section here basically allow user to take picture from gallery and camera, where when user click on this top container here, there are um, options provided for user to be able to select from. User can select from gallery and from camera. So the implementation basically use um, image picker library, which allow us to select between gallery and camera. So this section here basically handle in the new book page in the following um, widgets. So this padding here implement use gesture detector, which then will call show select dialog. And the rest at the bottom down here, this is just a container which contain box decoration and decoration image, which then allow us to do image selector. So the default image for the image selector that we have here is basically set to the asset image that we have from our asset folder here, asset image folder, which is this image camera.png. And if the image is not null, and then which is basically if user selected image from camera or from gallery, they can choose the image from the image binary, which is this binary here, the file image here. And get the show selection dialog. When we select and then show selection dialog, what we have here is a show dialog modal window, and which use or implement two buttons in this row, and both buttons basically allow user to select from gallery or from camera. So to select from gallery, the first button here, which is implemented through elevated button, called select gallery method. So the select gallery method basically just implement this image picker library, and then the image picker gallery will pick their image source from gallery. And here I purposely set the mag, height, and width to 800 only. This is basically just to avoid any large image pick up from the gallery or from the camera. If we choose the second button here, the second button basically implement the following select from camera method, which will pick image from camera. So either way, the pick image will be assigned to the image file object that we have defined in the class. And then we can now, the image now no longer null, which allow for the gallery or for the camera to be taken. Right, for example, the gallery here, if we take image from gallery and we take the image, this image here, um, the image basically comes from gallery. However, there's additional method that we have here, which is called crop image. So the crop image is another library that I use in this project, which allow for the application to crop the image that we have or we receive from the image picker. So the crop image implemented through image cropper library, which will require for the installation of the library or the import of the library in here. The current version that I use is version 5. And to be able to use image cropper, there are one requirement that for Android that you need to update, which is in the Android app folder, which is main and Android manifest. So Android manifest will require to add the following activity. You can refer to the library, to the pubdev, the image cropper pubdev. You can add the one activity into your Android manifest, which allow for the UI or the screen for the activity to be able to be defined here. And then when we use image cropper, it basically allow us to select aspect ratio. So the source path of the image comes from the image file, and then we can select the aspect ratio that we wanted to use here. So by default, I wanted to use aspect ratio for 3 for the image. The rest of the setting here basically just to set the toolbar title, toolbar color, toolbar widget color, and so on and so forth. So those are basically just a setting for the image cropper. So once we have the image cropper, and then we reassign back the crop file image to the image. So when we selected on this, means that the image will be cropped and then reassigned back to the image, uh, and then we get the following. All right. So that's for the image cropper and from the image picker. So that's basically the first section up here, which allow us to get one important data, which is the image data. All right, so the rest of the UI at the bottom down here, this is basically form. So that's basically handled through the form widget here. So the form widget basically contained in a container. Again, the same, which and then implemented at the bottom down here. So the add new book tags and everything, the tax form field for ISBN, tax form field for the book title, and tax form field for the rest. So that's basically a text form field that we use for this application. So it's all there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 data. And together with the image, 8 data that we wanted to use here. So this is basically all the same with registration. We use text form field. We define all the validator. For example, that if we try to submit, we try to insert, so the validator kick in and check that all the required data properly fill in. Right, so those are the forms, so just the usual form. And then when we are ready to add book, when we are ready to add book, then we, like, for example, like let me just take one book. For this is just an example. Um, let's say one book from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or the 13 tail. Try to get some information from the book. The 13 tail, a novel by Settlefield Diane. Right. So the book basically title as such. So let me just put the book title first. Put the ISBN, ISBN number. However, the ISBN number, there are multiple version that we can use, but supposed to have 13, so I'm not quite sure the um so let's just put one more because we need 13 number. Okay. This is supposed to be 17. All right, so take some this book descriptions a little bit. Book author, this one from um, Diane Field. Book price about, I'm not quite sure the price here, 16, which is 56 ringgit or 16 ringgit. Sorry, 60 ringgit. This is new book. Oh, sorry, this one is supposed to be 60 ringgit. And the quantity is one, and this is a used book. Right. So when we try to add book, let me just take the image of the books. Take the image first, put the image, select from gallery, and this is the image, Tintil. Okay, so try to add the books, fill in form, so there are some other information that is still missing. So the book price will be required, but that will require some update there, but this is just a validation. Right, so when we try to add books here, you can see there's an insert new book dialog, which is an alert dialog when we press the add book button. So that dialog basically implemented through the show selection dialog from the add book button at the bottom down here, which is this one. So the show dialog basically would pop up. Are you sure you want to insert? Okay. Oh, sorry, not this one. Implemented down here. All right, here, this one. So it basically will first check insert book dialog, will check for the validation, and then will check for the availability of the image, and then pop up the show dialog, yes or no. So this is basically the yes or no. If user press on yes, and then we'll basically proceed to the insert book. And then inside the insert book here, this is basically where we start collecting all the data from the controller. And for the image itself, since the image is the data type is a binary data type, so we need to convert the image to string first by using base64 encoder. So this is basically when we want to pass or we want to submit the data through HTTP post array, we need to convert the image back to the string. We need to convert the image to string first before we can properly submit the data to the server. Okay, so here we have all the data, and then we can pass the data by using our HTTP post array. And definitely we need our backend, which is insertbook.php. And the body section here, this is basically all the data that we submitted. User ID widget, user data, which we get from the data we pass around through classes, and ISBN data that we get from all the controllers, and drop down value we get from the status, and the image, basically string data, basically we got from the base64 encoder here. So that's basically for the insert book, and definitely we need to go to the insert book. So the insert book basically just insert statement, PHP, which basically divided into the following. So this is basically just to check the availability of the post array data. And then we connect to the database connector. We get all the data. So this section here, just a post array, we get all the string data that we receive. The decoded string here, this is basically we need to decode back the image that we receive from the form back to the binary data. So we use a base64 decoder that decode back the string into binary data, which is assigned to the following variable decoded string. So the SQL statement here, but yeah, I forgot about the add slashes here. So the add slashes basically allow us to avoid any issue with the comma. If any string that we have from here, like for example, for here we don't have any comma at the top. If and yes, this comma here or top comma that having issues with SQL statement. So when we add slashes here, that's basically just to avoid that issue. All right. So the SQL statement just insert statement, insert into table books. So this is all the fields and this is all the data. Okay, but here I didn't use any prepared statement. So if you want to use prepared statement, you can use it here to allow for your data to be more secured when the SQL statement is being executed. Here this is just basically a con query, just execute the SQL. This part here, this basically allow us to use the insert ID that we have from this data because the book ID here is basically auto increment. Um, and we use the MySQLi insert ID to get that recently insert ID, and we assign this as a file name. To be able to store the file into server directory, we use the file name and the file path that we store the data. So the path that I use here, basically in the following directory, in the asset folder, in the book folder. So that's why you can see that this dotted means that back and back two spaces, sorry, back one directory, and then go into asset directory and go into back books directory. And concatenate with a file name, and then here stored as a .png. Okay, so and then finally to store the data into the server directory, give the command file put content, provide pass parameter path and the decoded string that we just decoded. And this is just to respond back. All right. Um, and that's it. So if you try to insert the following data, and then we need to open, definitely we need to open our database first. So let's check our database. So at the moment we have the following double book. I already have 10 data here, so that's why you can see there's a lot of data already. So let me try to insert one data. Then we're supposed to have 11 as a book ID. So add, and also I need to show the server directory for the book already because I already have 10 data. So there are 10 data here. So if we have one more data, later on we're going to end up with one more data here. So when I press yes, so you can see that the new file uploaded to the server directory, which is the 13 tail here. And if we check our database, if I refresh the database, you can see new data here, down here. Okay. So those are basically, I think I might need to do some correction here because this one's supposed to be over there and it's not there. 978-0. And then we also need, because this is not the right one, 316. So the dash over 316. So 743. So we have one dash over there. This is the correct format. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then finally dash 2. All right, I think that's the correct format now. So this is what we're using is 17 character format. All right. Right, so those are basically the what we have here basically allow us to insert data into database. And then after this, what we need now is to load the data and display back the data in this book list screen. Okay, so I hope that helped you a lot to be able to create form and insert data into database. It's quite easy to do.